President Donald Trump supported the unsealing of warrants on the FBI at his Mar-A-Lago resort. On his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump posted this week, quote, "Not only will I not oppose the release of documents related to the un-American, unwarranted, and unnecessary raid and break-in of my home in Palm Beach, Florida, Mar-A-Lago, I am going to step further by encouraging the immediate release of those documents, even though they have been drawn up by radical left Democrats and possible future political opponents." He followed up with that post with another one saying, "My poll numbers are the strongest they have ever been. Fundraising by the Republican Party is breaking all records, and this unprecedented political weaponization of law enforcement is inappropriate and highly unethical," end quote. He went on to comment about how the United States has been brought to a new low related to border security, crime, the economy, and other issues. Former President Trump ended the two posts by saying, "Release the documents now." And joining me to talk more about the latest developments is Cajon Mayor Bill Wells. Good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I mean, after all of what's happened, Trump is getting records amounts of fundraising for this. And if it's a political attack from the left, is it backfiring on the Democrats?
Oh, I think it's obviously backfiring. I don't know if Donald Trump had solidified his plans to run for president. I think he was leaning in that direction. But I think now there's absolutely no chance that he's not going to run. And, with Republican supporters, I think a lot of people maybe had grown a little bit weary of the controversy that surrounds Donald Trump all the time. And people were looking at DeSantis and other people and saying, maybe it would be better to go ahead and find somebody who could enact the same policies, but not be as controversial. But now people feel like an injustice has been done. They're really whipped up. And I think we've made Trump almost into a messianic figure, which is, I don't think that's what the left envisioned at all.
Well, it almost seems like the Democrats are thinking that this is their golden ticket to get Trump not to run again. Your thoughts on that?
It's obviously just going to backfire. I mean, the Supreme Court has already said twice now that you can't change the qualifications for running for president. So even in the really, really off chance that he was to be convicted of some crime, he could still run for president. You can't disqualify him. Anybody can run for president, and they're going to have to accept that.
Well, what do you think for voters? Does this change anything, seeing that the left is now using their political powers to do this to a former president?
Look, I think the people that were going to vote against Trump are going to vote against Trump no matter what. I think there's a lot of people in the middle, in the independents, that were maybe on the fence about this, and a lot of them have been pushed over, not because they love Donald Trump so much, because they hate government corruption. I mean, you're seeing a government that's weaponizing the DOJ to go after a political opponent. These kind of things happen in Russia. Joseph Stalin had a head of a secret police that said, "Show me a man and I'll show you his crime." And I think that's what we're seeing. They have done everything they can to discredit Donald Trump. There's been 2 impeachments. There's been the Russian collusion hoax. It just goes on and on. They never stop. And people are saying, wait a second, if they can do that to him, they can do that to me. And people are frightened. They're frightened with what has happened to America. It's not the America that was around when I was a kid. This has become some kind of a communistic version of what America was.
Well, the judge signed off on the warrant on August 5th, and the FBI didn't go to Mar-A-Lago until the 8th. Why do you think it took them 3 days? Because normally when a warrant is granted, they'll go immediately.
I think they're probably playing this politically. So again, I don't think this really has anything to do with the rule of law. I think this is like a TV show. They're wondering how the best to have the optics. They didn't want him there. They had him turn off all the cameras in Mar-A-Lago. I think somebody in his staff did that. They didn't want anybody to see this. They wanted to do it in the dead of night. I think they were hoping to make it kind of a non-event, but to really play up the implications that he's a criminal, and it backfired. I think everybody said, well, he's obviously not a criminal, and the real story is not the criminality. The real story is what the government did, showing up at a former president's house with AR-15s. I mean, that's unbelievable. If you had pitched a movie 20 years ago saying, yeah, well, let's have the FBI show up at the former president's house to get a box of documents with AR-15s, they'd say, forget that. That's unrealistic. Nobody would believe that.
And then what are your thoughts on the Biden administration not having comment about this raid?
He's just absolutely lying. And I think that one of the things that has been a hallmark of the Biden administration is not being open and transparent with the people. I'm an elected official, and what I think people really want is authenticity. I try very hard to be honest and even take my lumps when I have to, but to be open and honest with people. And I think people appreciate that. The Biden administration has, like recently they said, oh, we're not in a recession, and they just blatantly lie to people. And people are not stupid. They know what's going on.
Well, Hillary Clinton deleted thousands of classified emails after getting the subpoena, and then Hunter Biden, the FBI, has had his laptop for over a year, and they've never even looked at it. So it's very clear that it's one set of rules for them, and then one set of rules for Trump. So what's it going to be like moving forward?
Well, I think that's another thing that's really energizing people to say, wait, we should live in a country where there's a rule of law that applies equally to all people. The mantra of the left right now is that nobody's above the law. But that's really not what we're seeing. We're seeing that some people are not above the law, but other people can do whatever they want. I mean, President Biden himself should be the most investigated person there is right now, because he has obviously sold his office for financial gain. A guy who makes a few $100,000s a year for the last 40 or 50 years in office has a $12 million house. How did he get that? And the answer is obvious. Hunter Biden played on the Biden name, sold the Biden name, and funneled money back to the big guy. And everybody knows it, and everybody's ignoring it, and yet we're going after Trump for the possible information that wasn't declassified, even though he was the president who had the right to declassify anything. So,
and while all this is happening, the Biden family, they are in South Carolina on a family vacation.
I just don't think the American people are going to put up with it. And that's why you have solidified the fact that Donald Trump will win the presidency next time. And I think that that's really where the story is, because I think you're going to see a massive explosion. Right now, the country is this close to civil war. I don't know if it's a civil war with a shooting war. I sure hope not. But the hatred from one side to the other, distrust of one side to the other, has never been at such a fever pitch since the Civil War of the 1860s. And when Donald Trump wins in 2024, I think things are really going to explode.
Cajon Mayor Bill Wells, thank you so much for joining us and giving us your expertise on this matter.
Thank you.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.